Hi, good day. I had to make sure we recorded. So this bloodline reading, right? Let me show you my notes. You can't actually see them. Um, this was amazing. I actually ended up taking a whole rabbit hole based upon your information because it appears that we really do come from 12 tribes, which is a whole nother thing. So this bloodline reading, this is going to be part one. It's going to be the little slideshow I made for you. You'll see in a second. With all the details I found through your name, through gematria, numerology, the actual meaning of your name, and any history I could find of where I was led as I extra guides tuned into the all that is to get information to get led on these dots based upon what I found hidden in your name. And it all freaking connected. Because remember, this reading I was doing like as a discounted thing because I was seeing if I was able to give people the same information that I found on myself with their information. Because sometimes you know stuff about yourself and like secrets and things that click a button, but everybody else might not. I connected all of your dots. And then when I saw that you were actually in California, I was like, well, holy shit. It all connected together. So let's get to it. This part one is going to be all the earthly parts together, connecting your last name to the bloodlines you come from here and all that stuff. Now, the second part of this, I'm actually waiting on you to send me your birth time, is going to be how I connect it to the stars, how I take all the information that I learned about your family line and connect it to who you have been. Because when we reincarnate, because we're born over and over again, in order to grow, we have to come through our bloodline. We have to come through our DNA. You have had to have been some sort of royalty because your family stems from royalty in Spain. So let's get to this freaking reading. I'm going to turn off my camera now and flip the screen. I don't think you can see that. Let's see. And stop my video so that you can focus on this. All right, so let's get started. I made it cute. Oh, hold on. I'm supposed to start cute. I'm going back. It didn't start cute like I wanted it to. That's okay. So, Desiree Malia Carrillo. Am I saying that right? I hope so. Let's get to the meaning of that. So, I know nothing about your background. I look forward to you filling me in on this as I go through, but your first name means hope. Hope. Were you a child that was unplanned? Because wished for is what your middle name means, which really combined and created something for me. Like, did your mom know you were coming? Was it unexplained? Were you prayed for? Because that's definitely the indicator here. I would love to know the backstory. Now, the last name totally equals to the word cheek in Spanish, but it turns out that there is a reason for that. People with this last name actually came from a group of people known as the Castilians. Let's hit here. Welcome to the kingdom of Castile. Back to what I was saying a second ago, that cheeky, bold name was actually given to these people. You came from a group of people who all had the same last name with different twerks. So if you will at the end. See right here, we got Jose Carrillo de Albornoz. Excuse me for messing up names, because all of the names came with a special day something at the end in order to separate them, because they all started from this root here, which came from the Castile people, which were the royal people in Spain. The main house, which you can see here, they took over this whole area and actually sort of owned like the rest of it. This over here is the symbol of the house. And this over here is like I would like to say this is what they put on their letters, but this is the lineage, the marker. Like back in the day, this would have meant something to you guys because you came from freaking royalty and everybody was split up into separate groups based upon their last names. So starting over here with my notes now that I can focus on those. Carrillo stems from the root name carro, which means wagon. These people were not workers over here though, which is the funny thing. But movers, travelers, and they actually traveled from Central Asia, which we'll get to on the next one, but I wanted to lead you backwards from where you are now. So the last name, Carrillo, that began with the Casto lineage, is Italian and Spanish. Started in the 13th century. One of the biggest people from that line, or Jose, which was the winner of this big battle over here. I didn't exactly get into what the battle was, but he was a military leader, and it appears there's lots of people who made a name for themselves in your family line. Following this time period, the family line began to spread. It spread to Cuba, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Venezuela, Costa Rica, Chile, the Philippines, and California. Amazing how that came back around, right? So from the point that they made their way to America, the census pretty much labeled that everybody by the 1940s that had arrived in California and Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas and spread out were laborers or maids by this point. Even though they had derived from royalty, because of the California gold rush, everything once you got over there was based upon what you were able to find and have. So that is the Spanish part that I found interested in, how that got spread out. But that was not the end of it, because honestly, what I recognized reading your thing was the Spanish had come from something else. Spanish did not just pop up there like it came from other races. And that really is what intrigued me. This Castilian thing came from somewhere else, which is why I added this part at the end. From the 1880s to the 1920s, you could also find the last name of Carrillo in Scotland. Why is that? Because these are only the Spanish roots. Here we are with your Germanic roots. Yes, I was really excited to go in on this. So Germanic tribes are the original Caucasian tribes, pretty much. So how did this lineage of people get to Spain? It all started with two brothers who do not have their names online, who went on vacation. Celtic brothers. You see Celtic stuff is over here. Spain is down here. This is where your heritage came from. And this is what I found in your name. Built into your gematria, your numerology, you have Celtic roots. You were listed as Anglo-Celtic at some point in your past lives. This means that you connect to the Iberians. I don't see that on here. Iberians, the Basque, as you can see here, and the Celtics that are over here. So these people came down into this. Particularly the two brothers we're talking about. They went on vacation. They made a mistake and killed somebody in Italy that belonged to their king. So instead of returning back home, they got scared and ran over here to Spain, where they married some people that were already royalty and became the kings. They took over. And that is how your family went from having this European Germanic, because you can see literally from Germany, all these are your people. That is the root of the Spanish part of your heritage. It's Indo-European, the original Europeans that were before the ones we now know, so to speak. The problem is sort of kind of to say is that this connects you to the Aryan race. I also found stuff in your gematria, which is the calculation of your name that adds up to certain vibrations, things that you're a vibrational match and things that are a blueprint for where you have been in the past. With the Aryan and the Germanic, that means that some of your family was in here, and I believe that your soul has endured the Holocaust based upon what I saw in your gematria. You dealt with the Aryans because your family line was a part of the Aryans, but also because karma. And by karma, I mean with some of your people participating, your family line will be pulled during that time period to endure it as well, if that makes sense to you. Some of your people were a part of it as Nazis, and some of your people were a part of it as victims. I believe, based upon what I saw in your gematria, that you were a victim. And we could definitely look into past life regression if you really wanted to go there, but I felt like it was important for me to mention to you because this is in your blood. Technically, with past life stuff, even if you don't remember it, your soul remembers. And sometimes you might have depressions, and you might be triggered because of these things that have been endured during your time here. So now to the super duper fun part, all the way back to the place where you can't even remember. Well, you can't remember this, but you know what I mean. So before this whole Aryan, Germanic, Spanish, Californian thing happened, these people weren't here. This was an empty area. This is actually something that just happens over the course of the last like 30,000 years. White people, the Aryan people, the people with the blue eyes and blonde hair that are favored come from up here, and they slowly came down and started going through things. Before that, in order for the Celtics of these Germanic people to even exist, they had to come from the Garden of Eden, the cradle of life, which is where the Central Asia and Iran join your genetic party. Let's flip it up. So the furthest back I could trace your genealogy, and honestly, the beauty of this is there was not a million places to look. Everything led to a specific area, which is the cradle of life. The Garden of Eden was all up in here and through Africa, which is where you began, where your family bloodline began. I think it's technically where all of us begin, but you are connected to the original Jewish people. I found literally in your name, Israelite origins. Shamanic connections. This means that your gifts must be off the chain because you belong to the original group who has the original DNA, although you have been meshed over time. These people descended from the Ukraine, as I was just explaining to you, and spread throughout Europe, Central, South Asia, and Africa. This is important to you because those are your people and the blood still runs through your veins. And as you can see over here, and much later on when the Moors came through and owned this area for 2,000 years before even your people came down, again, from the thing I just showed you. These were your people, your origins, where your juju, so to speak, comes from. You are Israelite in origin. That explains a lot about your look. I wouldn't look after I realized another one of my clients was your cousin. I'm like, hold on, they come from the same kingdom of Castile. So this is part one of your reading, for you to be able to see where you come from, where your roots come from, how they spread. You went from Israel, this area, because this is the map before everything got tore up and divided during wars and all that silly stuff. This is the area where your people started in their bloodline. European people came down, things started blending. Those two dudes were up in here and they ran over here. Then you came all the way to California, which is not up here. And Puerto Rico and all the Spaniard places somewhere along the way. Filipinos were also brought to California and merged as well, because slavery for California started with them slaving the people who already lived there. The what's the word I'm looking for? The indigenous people, which we are aware that are already in your bloodline just based off the California in that area. That is there as well. The next part of this reading, as I said, I'm waiting on your birth time, is going to connect the dots for everything we just went over here. I hope this started you on a rabbit hole of things to look up into your Semitic roots, into your Germanic roots, but also into the royalty. I really look forward to finding out if you feel like you've ever been a queen. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. You have a great day.